The first known civilization in South Asia appeared around 2500 BC on the Indian subcontinent. Like the earlier civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt, this one began in a river valley. In the area drained by the Indus River, hundreds of small farming villages arose. When they grew surplus food, they increased their populations and eventually formed the Indus Valley civilization. This civilization included about 1,400 cities and towns. Many were laid out in grid patterns similar to those in modern cities. They show evidence of city planning that far surpassed anything in ancient Egypt and Sumer. After about 1,000 years, this great civilization declined, though no one knows why. About that same time, a collection of nomadic herders called Aryans arrived in the Indus Valley. In addition to being herders, the Aryans were fierce warriors. By 700 BC, many Aryan kingdoms had formed across northern India. The Aryans had a collection of religious poems called Vedas, and the time the Aryans flourished in India is called the Vedic Age. Aryan society was built on castes, a system in which every person is born into a fixed social class. Over the centuries, the caste system became more complex. Eventually, hundreds of castes existed. Brahmanism was the main religion during the Vedic Age. According to tradition, only priests from the highest caste, the Brahmins, could perform rituals and sacrifices to the Vedic nature gods. So priests became extremely powerful. But by 800 BC, the ways of worship in India began to change. Gurus, or religious thinkers, began to challenge Brahmanism. The nature gods became less important, and people grew more concerned with questions raised by the gurus about how to lead a moral life. A new religion was born, Hinduism. Hinduism combined Aryan beliefs with local Indian religions. Although they still worshipped many gods, now Hindus also believed in one supreme god, Brahman. Many different forms of Hinduism evolved, but all Hindus shared the same basic beliefs, including reincarnation, the idea that after death the soul is reborn in another body, and the law of karma, in which actions in this life can affect a person's destiny in the next. The existing faiths in India became a part of Hinduism, which absorbed local gods and traditions. And because they placed little emphasis on complex rituals, Hindus could set up shrines anywhere, even in their own homes. Hinduism also encouraged creativity. Temples became centers of music, dance, and art, as well as prayer and worship. When Indian merchants traveled to distant lands in Southeast Asia, they took their religion with them. That's why the walls of many temples in other parts of Asia, like those in Angkor in Cambodia, are decorated with images of the Hindu gods. But Hinduism wasn't the only world religion to start in India. Buddhism began here too. It's based on the teachings of the spiritual leader Siddhartha Gautama. Siddhartha was an Indian prince born to a life of privilege around 563 BC, but he gave up his wealth and began a quest for spiritual enlightenment. After years of searching, self-denial, and meditation, it's said that Siddhartha achieved his goal. From then on, he was known as the Buddha, which means the enlightened one. For the next 45 years, the Buddha traveled through India and brought his teachings to many people. The Buddha accepted many Hindu ideas, including reincarnation and karma. But he dismissed many others, particularly the caste system. The Buddha taught that anyone could achieve enlightenment by following a series of principles he called the Eightfold Path. Buddhism grew very popular, and its followers spread it quickly through India. Some Indian rulers encouraged it. One of these rulers was Ashoka, a great military leader who ruled the powerful Mauryan Empire between 273 and 232 BC. After defeating the rival kingdom of Kalinga, Ashoka was shocked at the death and suffering his troops had caused. So he turned away from violence and embraced Buddhism. He built many monasteries and monuments, and sent missionaries to spread Buddha's teachings to the rest of the world. Ashoka's empire collapsed within 50 years of his death, breaking into many smaller kingdoms. But Buddhism survived and was eventually carried to other lands, and has become one of the modern world's most popular religions.